7 p.m. We'll go ahead and call the regular council meeting of Monday, February 3rd, 2025 to order. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity we have of serving you and serving the community. We pray that you be with us, help us to have a good attitude and right decisions to make. Give us the guidance that we need to make them and continue to protect and watch over the city, Lord. Help us to grow and prosper. So we ask these things in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we move to the approval of the agenda, I would like to make one amendment. I'd like to ask, make a request of the council under committee and council member reports. Do we have a motion for the approval of the amended agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the amended agenda.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those, aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Do we have a motion for the approval of the minutes for the meeting of Tuesday, January 21st?
I move that we accept the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right.
Does it include the executive session?
Oh, excuse me. Yes, do we have, I'm sorry about that. Do we have, a motion for the approval of the minutes and the executive session for Tuesday, the 21st, 2025?
Yes, that's what my motion reads.
All right, do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Do we have a motion for the approval of the annual audit?
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve the annual audit as presented.
I second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. All right, motion passes. Do we have any nominations for recognition? No nominations for recognition. We don't have any certificates of recognition. We'll move to citizens business verbal. And it looks like number one is Bruce Perkins for the catering permit.
You must not have made it, but we can use permits are in your packet there.
Right, we have it here. Okay. Okay. So Mr. Perkins isn't in attendance tonight. Maybe he's under the weather, but we have two 24-hour catering permits. It's gonna take place over 2 days. So we need to approve the catering permit for both days. So, Spring Vendor Fair is the name of the event. And it's gonna begin on the first day of March 2025 at 9 a.m. and go through the second day of March 2025 at 9 a.m. Do we have a motion to accept the 24-hour catering permits for both of those days?
Your Honor, I move that we accept Bruce's request as you have read there. I don't remember the exact dates, March 1st and 2nd.
Oh, does it? Oh, excuse me. So the first one, sorry about that, goes March 2025, second day of March 2025, 9 a.m. through the third day of March 2025 at 9 a.m.
I still move just that.
So this is the same
It's just
vendor? Or what,
Yeah,
I mean, the same party?
the Spring Vendor Affair, and it's gonna take place over those 2 days. We have a second.
Where is this?
Well, once it's seconded, then we can move into the discussion. It's okay. Please second. Okay. We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to know more about this Spring Vendor Affair.
What's its
I
location?
wish that Mr. Perkins was in attendance because I don't know much about
It's
the,
at the Weston County Event Center.
okay.
It's Bruce. What are you doing?
I'm just wondering what it is.
I've
What
heard
are
it.
what are we drinking at? I mean, what is this? I'm just asking.
Oh, okay. Oh, actually, here we go. It's hosted by Rustic Creations, Cassidy Koch, and Bubble Butt Bed Beauty Carrie Cooper. This event will be set up with close to 40 vendors of food and a wide variety of handcrafted items. We're trying to provide the community with a fun early spring shopping experience in which we will all offer adult beverages while they shop. Perkins Tavern will be providing the alcohol, and we have a certified bartender working this event that is employed by Perkins Tavern. Alcohol will be served on Saturday and on Sunday while supplies last. Valid ID required to receive a wristband, which will be required to purchase a drink. Is there any further discussion?
Where's it gonna be at?
Oh, I thought we already, okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Thanks, Stacy. All right. Number 2 on citizens business verbal is Harry Roberts, and says forgiveness.
Both, but
He's not here.
He didn't show up, so all right. Moving to citizens business in writing, and there's none.
So we just don't discuss it, or what?
Are we just gonna table that, or?
Oh, well, I mean, he's not in attendance, so,
Okay,
well,
you didn't write a letter or anything?
Yeah.
Okay,
he did, I just printed that off for the
I didn't
council's
see anything in the
information, but he did not
packet.
submit a letter.
So are we just kind of complicating here?
maybe he'll ask to get put on the next agenda.
Who's our police chief tonight?
All right. He's on vacation. He's absent tonight. Okay, sorry, moving on to, old business. There's none. New business, item number 1, modification of jail time penalties within the city ordinances.
All they want is to lose the public notice requirements so they can keep even more secrets than they're keeping now. I can't side with local governments in these fights anymore. I used to. For 20 years, I sided with them. I can't. I've got to back the legislature and I've got to back the Freedom Caucus in sort of breaking the chain and bringing local governments to heel.
And I think that that'll bring the people to heel. While I think the people deserve some, I think that people have become too accommodated to everything. And when you peel back government and local government, you're going to make the people uncomfortable too, but I think it'll make everybody stronger.
And hey, if the people can't handle it, they can vote these guys out in 2 years, right? That's the thing about the Wyoming legislature is they can neither help too much too rapidly or hurt too much too rapidly. Wyoming does have good reserve accounts.
New business, item number 1, modification of jail time penalties within the city ordinances.
Did Dublin want us to just negate them, just get rid of them?
No, he said I talked to him today, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. He just said he wants authority to review them and make sure they're in line with all the current changes of Wyoming law. That's all he wanted. So,
I move that the council give our city attorney the authority to go through our jail time requirements of our ordinances and I don't know, report back to us what he thinks is right and wrong about it, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 2, Wyoming Department of Transportation lease renewal.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, I did review the old lease with the Wyoming Department of Transportation and the new lease. They're basically the same. There are some changes. The old lease was for $550 a year. The new one, I think, is $600 and, no, the new one's $550, I think. And, yeah, that's right, 613. So, there's a couple other changes that are not meaningful. It's almost identical. Let's see, in the new one, you only have 45 days notice of continuing the lease, and the new one, and the old one, you had 2 months. The new lease doesn't mention anything about a 25-foot windmill, but the old one did. So this one doesn't have any reference to that in the new lease. And that's basically the only changes that I saw. So I thought it was basically the same as the old one. Okay.
This is for that little log cabin that they're,
Yeah.
So do we entertain a motion to pass the lease renewal for the Wyoming Department of Transportation for the Chamber of Commerce building?
I'd make a motion that we would accept the Wyoming Department of Transportation lease for our chamber building for the $613.14 listed in the agreement.
Second.
So we have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
Do we pay the annual fee to this, the $117 at list per year, or do we pay it at the 5-year?
I think the lease says that you pay it one time up front for all of them.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes.
Mr. Mayor, I stand corrected. The new lease says rent shall be paid on or before the first day of each year during the term of the lease. And the old lease said you pay it all at one time. I don't think the state would be upset if you paid it all at once, but the new lease does say you pay it at the beginning of each term, each new year.
Oh, that's right, and I'm kind of asking,
Yeah.
where they had them listed out,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
later the year.
Right.
Or do we pay it all at once, which is fine,
Yeah.
but it broke down per year by how much?
Yeah, the old one was paid up front in one payment. I read that and I thought, it said this payment is to be made in one payment of $550. So this was just on an annual basis.
Okay, so do we need to send a motion and entertain any motion?
I don't think so. I think if you pass it, you just have to follow the terms.
So we just want to pay our lease so that we can keep it in that spot.
Right.
And, it's kind of been there for a long time.
Long
so-
time.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on. We're to committee and council member reports. Item number 1, Parks Committee.
Mr. Mayor, at your request, the Parks Committee did meet. We actually did a phone call with Mr. Bonner to talk about said water park. And his proposal to the committee is there's what they call water with it. And it's basically a water park that goes, initially he was looking at the LAK is where he initially wanted to put this. And it sounds like in talks with them, they weren't in favor. Mr. Bonner's actually talked to the owner of the Fountain Inn about potentially using that land and that water. And he has agreed that if the council wants to move forward with it, that they would lease that land to us for a nominal fee, $1 or something like that, and supply it with unlimited water. Mr. Bonner said he would be willing to help write the grant. He said there's grants out there that are specifically for this type of a project. And if we were successful at that point, then he would want some kind of a nominal fee. And he's more than happy to help work with the council moving forward. The committee, as we discussed it, we're in favor of looking more into this to see like some more of the costs and things like that. Evidently they have one where Mr. Bonner's at, and it doesn't sound like there's much to operating costs, but obviously we need to look at security, maintenance, lifeguards, different things like that. Who's going to run this? What this looks like. So there's still some pieces that we need to look at, but that's more or less the list of what the water park was.
So is this something that the committee is favorable to looking into deeper?
Yes.
Okay. I was familiar with some of the information on the topic. I know that it seemed like for site prep to the site that was suggested that there'd be a lot of logistics and prep work that would need to be done, which would raise the cost. So it'd definitely be something that would need a lot more research to move forward with.
I once built a water park near that same pond. And I'd like to see what the hell are they talking about? You know?
Water park?
Yeah, what goes into this park, and I know what we did. Anyway, what is it? We have no clue what this looks like, what the kids are gonna do, what people are.
I'm sure some of that information was provided to the committee, didn't you guys?
I had to research it.
They're inflatables, Tom. They blow them up
They're
and float on the
toys
water.
for kids or adults or whatever, but it's big, huge inflatables
That float on top of the
that
water.
float
They're
on top of the
interchangeable.
water.
You can add different components, different days, and you can buy different components each year and make it bigger and bigger. It's and looks,
Can you go online and look at this?
Yeah.
you can,
Yes.
What do you Google when you,
water with it,
water what?
with it.
With it, okay. Well, when you
Yeah.
Well, the with it, okay. We'll look it up.
So there was a question to, the fountain isn't in the city limits.
Can I just kind of,
Well, the way some of the information was passed to me prior is that the owner of the property might be conducive with leasing the land to the city. The owner of the property might be conducive with leasing the land to the city for $1. Yeah, for an extended period of time. So, yeah, Tom, it's like bouncy houses, kind of like what they have at the fairgrounds and stuff for, so you float on the water.
So, yeah, and that was one concern that I had too, is the location is not in city limits, so what that would look like.
Well, I'll just look it up. Thank you, ma'am.
So, moving forward with more research, maybe we'd be able to come to a determination on whether we could site it there potentially and what the legalities and liability and everything would be for running a small park. But I kind of felt like the location was pretty ideal, right next to the four-way. You might call people our community, where they're inflatables and it's a pretty nominal cost for the actual slides and whatnot. That, it wouldn't be a huge expenditure for the city. And then one of the concerns that a citizen raised to me just the other night at J.D. Williams's function at the country club was, they felt like if we started supplying the water park with water after the rate increases and everything, that a lot of citizens might not appreciate that. But I don't think that we would have to supply any
But
water.
the fountain inn is on the well up the hill. It's not
Yeah,
on
that would be on a private well,
Yeah.
not city water.
and Falcon's already said that we would get that water from him for a nominal.
Okay, so that addresses the citizens' concern about us using city water for this park.
So we're gonna pay for the water?
No.
No,
No, it's furnished.
Oh, I thought you just said get the water for a nominal and then you cut off.
the lease of the place is for a nominal, and with that comes the water. That's according to Mr. Bonner.
Thank
So,
you.
I
Do you have
mean,
anything else to
It's
report
like
on
Chris
Parks
said, a
Committee?
lot of it has to be
It
looked
says
into.
backyard park.
Okay.
It says backyard park right there.
Oh, yeah, so moving on to the next item on the agenda, backyard park. I was contacted by Jeremy Diedick with Event Sprockets. I thought I addressed the need to thank the Wyoming Refining Company and Par Pacific for the grant money that we were provided to use towards the backyard park. But Jeremy wants to address this a little bit further. So he asked if we could have a Parks Committee meeting in the near future so that he could kind of address like how he would like that to look in and then some of the progress that's been made on the park. Because one of the concerns is we have a line item in our budget of the grant money that we were provided, but it's just kind of been sitting there, and there hasn't been much in the way of forward progress towards the design of the park. So he wants to address the Parks Committee about these. And we want to show, I mean, there's been a lot of forward momentum as far as like volunteer labor that's gone into the park as it sits right now. And we did get a sign up that says, hey, we're gonna have a park here. But none of the funds that have been provided for us have been used up to this point. So I think that those concerns need to be addressed, that we need to start moving forward in the design process and try to use some of those funds towards the park. So I believe that Mr. Dedek's gonna provide you guys with information on all of that at the next Parks Committee meeting. So if you guys just put your heads together and found an acceptable time.
And coordinate that with him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you guys could let me know, and then I can let Jeremy know, however you want to do it. You guys have Jeremy's number? You get his number?
This is for the bike.
The bike.
Okay.
Backyard park.
Does anybody have any questions about the backyard park? Hearing none, we'll move forward to the mayor's request. I'm new to my position. I don't fully understand, you know, what I am and am not allowed to do at this point. I am asking the council, I went out and purchased a laptop computer that I'm going to be using for city work and be able to check my emails in the morning and stuff. I have a full-time job, and I have been using my work computer for the last 4 years as a member of this council, and that is not appropriate. I know that we're in a pitfall where people have phones and they have things that they use almost second-naturedly, but as public officials, we're supposed to use equipment that could be seized by the government if we get, you know, if we're under litigation, you might have to provide your own personal phone if you're using it, or your personal computer. So I would like to ask the council respectfully if they could pick up the cost of the laptop computer that I purchased so I can use it for my work for the city. It was $199. I bought a 2-year
For $199.
I got a cheap laptop computer that'll fit the bill, to be able to do what I need to do for the city.
Your Honor, I move that we reimburse the mayor for his $199 computer.
Okay.
Is there a computer in the mayor's office?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Well,
Is there any discussion?
I think that you ought to leave the computer, like if you get fired or something, you should leave the computer for the next mayor.
I'll
I
turn,
mean, that,
this
something
is
that
city
valuable,
property.
that's something that valuable just needs to stay in the city property, isn't it? So
If this motion passes, which, Mr. Hughes, should I abstain from this vote?
Yes, you should.
Okay, if this motion passes, it will be city property, and I will turn it in at the end of my term.
So in this piece of it, then you're talking that you're using your company laptop or computer as like a personal. So this one here, you're not gonna have company information on it. So you can keep them separate. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Yes, I'd like to keep my own work separate from my city work. And I would like to compile all the information that I receive that is city business on this computer that I'm requesting of the council.
Is it a floppy drive?
Sir, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I abstain. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Thank you, council, I appreciate it. I think it's important to have the tools necessary to do the work that we do for the city. I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you missed the discussion part.
No, this is separate. The mayor, the function of the mayor is to proceed over the council, right? But you do not vote unless it's a tiebreaker? Am I correct on that?
No, sir. So, state statute 15-1-103 says very clearly that the mayor shall vote.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to do the right thing. Yeah.
The mayor just cannot make motions.
So it says that I shall vote in any of the city's business, shall vote. I know I was confused about that too, so I asked questions, and then a colleague sent me the state statute, and I read it, and shall leaves no room for argument. Right.
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
A colleague sent me the state statute, and I read it, and shall leaves no room for argument. Right.
Mandatory.
Thank you for your question, Councilman Bucks. Before I move on, I missed this one, I'm sorry, council. So the tree advisory board, we have not used the monies for the ad space for the newsletter journal yet, that the council approved a couple months ago. But I did a little bit of recruiting. So we have Deborah Ellsworth. She lives in my neighborhood. She provided us with an application to serve on the tree advisory board. Yeah, she said she's very much a nature lover and she enjoys trees and she would like to serve as a member of our board. So I'm asking the council if you would entertain a motion to appoint Deborah Ellsworth to the tree advisory board.
I move that we accept the application of Deborah Ellsworth.
That's right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. I abstain. All those in opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Thank you, council. So we have one other vacancy on the board. The board wants to have 5 members. We'll have 4 with Ms. Ellsworth. But I guess by our ordinance, it says the tree advisory board can have up to 7 or 10 members. But we thought that might be getting a little carried away, so we're gonna try to keep it at 5, which is where it's set for some time now. Moving on to department head reports, Public Works Supervisor Greg Stump.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We started the process for the West Railroad project, water improvement project. We've submitted the pre-application to the State Revolving Fund intended use plan for 2026. The next item of business is to have a resolution stating that we want to move forward with this project. Resolution number 1, series 2025, I would recommend vote for the resolution so we can begin this project.
Okay, Greg, would you go down on resolution number 1 says $675,000. Would you tell us a little bit about the financing of that and how
That will be through the SRF program.
That's the state revolving.
Yep, state revolving fund. The $675,000 will be in the form of a loan. We'll do work between now and the actual time when we request the funding to decrease the interest.
Is that
interest rate starts out at 2.5% and can go as low as 0.5%.
Do they forgive any part of this loan?
25% of the loan will be, we've requested 25% of the loan will be forgiven.
I move that we authorize Mr. Stump to complete this application to the SRF for the $675,000 on resolution 1-2025.
I second it.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying, aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item is we put in a request for funding for wastewater and stormwater master plan. This is so we can have an engineering firm come in, look at the wastewater system, stormwater system, including our treatment facilities, collection areas, sewer lines, and make recommendations on needed projects. This is going to help us build into our asset management plan that we're working on, the set of plans and a set of items that we need to focus on first. We have submitted this to the State Revolving Fund intended use plan, and I would recommend a vote for the resolution.
Your Honor, I move that we pass resolution 2-2025 for the overall purposes of a master plan for what is it, city water development of the wastewater and stormwater master plan.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? I think this is great to move forward. We have a very dilapidated collection system and not much of a stormwater system in our community, and this would go a long ways towards creating a better design. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Resolution number 2-2025.
My next item, the level 2 assessment from October that we received. One of the requirements from EPA was to have an engineer look at the system and try and figure out why we are getting so many TCs. They also want us to look at chlorination. We have contacted Edinburgh Miller engineers. They're the engineers that did our master plan, so they're the most familiar with the system right now. They have sent us a proposal to be able to do this report for us. The amount is $6,000 to produce this report EPA wants. The proposal is to be, the duration of the report phase is going to be 45 days. We need this in order to move forward with EPA. This is one of the stipulations that is required in order to come back into compliance with the level 2 assessment. I would recommend a motion to agree to the proposal. It's within line of the normal costs we see for engineering a report like this.
Do we have a motion to entertain the design, cost of $6,000 with Enberg Miller?
Okay, Your Honor, I move that we approve the English Miller proposal to do their study.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? This is necessary for us to move forward with the problems that we've been having with the EPA and the total coal form positive tests that the city's been getting. So it's pretty necessary that we move forward with this. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes.
Thank you, Council. Just for your information, the January monthly routine TC and EC samples all came back negative, so we're
Wonderful.
We did also complete the flushing that we requested EPA allow us to do. So the majority of the systems that, the entire water system has been flushed. Not like we would normally do it. Because of winter, we really have to watch where we dump our water. So we had extra long runs that we did, flushed extra time, but we have flushed the entire system.
So the sample tests you got back that were negative were after the flushing?
Yes. We waited till the last week of January to do it to see if it would improve the situation.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
We waited till the last week of January to do it to see if it would improve the situation. And it seems to have. I'm interested to find out what the engineers come up with in this process. So. Councilman Ross, the mirror at Winthrop, we went up and looked at that recently.
I have not seen it yet.
Yeah, I know. We looked at the power pole and placing it on a power pole like the other one. The problem is the angle where it's at, you can't see down the street the direction you need to see. It's too far to the left of the intersection. We're looking at probably placing a post at the other side of the intersection, which had much better view from the mirror.
That would be, if you can, I guess.
Yeah, no, we're moving, we're still working on it, but we went and checked it out and looked at it, and you just don't have really good vision from the power pole with the mirror. So it's still in work in progress, but we're moving forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just had just a couple of questions because they stuck out like this. On the claims to the city, item 24998. And it's Farnsworth, and it says a hydrant of some kind of $10,000.
Yes, we ran into a time crunch to get the sample station. We actually combined two projects into this. We addressed it with the Water Sewer Committee before we did it. We had a bad fire hydrant on South Spokane. So instead of replacing a 1928 hydrant with a brand new one, we actually moved it to the other side of the road, and we incorporated the new line we're going to go into the cemetery with, new supply line into the cemetery and the sample stations. We basically tried to do three projects in one. The problem is with the flushing and everything else we've been working on, we did not have time to do it in-house. So
Okay.
we acquired two quotes from two different contractors and hired Farnsworth to do this one job.
And they got it all done for it. And then item 25009, this just might be for my own personal education, but it said that there was a gate valve that we purchased for $8,575.50. What kind of a gate valve costs that much money?
One of you know.
A big one.
I'm trying, they were stock valves that we needed. There was combined different, there was several different valves and fittings for stock that we used up on that.
Well, that's more than one valve?
Yeah,
Okay.
that should be the total of the invoice for, it should be Northwest Pipe.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Northwest Pipe, and I was just looking at that, and it just stuck out there, and I just had to ask. And then there's something called a resistance pack, $3,306. What is a resistance pack?
That's we nicknamed them Megalugs, because that's the manufacturer. They're the actual gland packs that go on the end of the valves that seal it up and hold it in
Oh,
place.
okay.
So they can't, it's a restraining deal that cannot pull out. They're, I want to say $350 a piece. We restocked our stuff from the fire hydrant project.
Okay, so that's just not one, though?
No, that's
Okay,
multiple.
thank you.
Is there any further?
Yeah, I have another question, and pardon my ignorance, I haven't had a chance to read through all the ordinances. So, like with the snow that we've been having, I see a lot of businesses pushing snow into the street. Do we have any kind of an ordinance that says that they can or cannot do that?
There's an ordinance that says it cannot impede flow of water and the flow of traffic. Traditionally, what we've done is, as long as we're going to pick up snow, we allow them to put it into our windrows. We are going to build windrows tomorrow of what's left on just the 3 blocks of Main Street, or our priority one route. We do have a snow priority route. We're in the process of revising it right now. Found some errors in it we needed to correct. But yes, there is if I recall, there is an ordinance stating that they're not supposed to do it.
I just, like I said, I've noticed several businesses doing it, and most of them have parking lots that would be suitable for stockpiling snow, so it's not pushed out in the middle of the streets, which causes more work for your group.
Yep. With the snow blower, it's usually not too terrible a deal, but when we don't make windrows, it becomes a problem. A lot of times we don't get to it. So they end up freezing into a rock solid chunk of ice is what it does. So, no, after the storm tomorrow, we'll be plowing up the 3 blocks of Main Street. So the ones on the 3 blocks of Main Street on the priority one routes will be done. But it's becoming a larger problem throughout town. We actually have people shoving snow in places we don't stockpile snow. Stampede Street south of the highway. We don't have the width of the road.
Well, and the one that really sticks out to me, because I drive it probably most, is South Sumner.
In the post office.
The post office.
Yep.
That road is barely wide enough for 2 vehicles to go up and down as it is, and then they push that whole back lot and the alley down in there, and then you don't have
And
the
deposit
road.
at the alley, blocking the alley. Yes, we've seen it several times. But it's more of a, how would the council like to proceed with this? That's the big question.
We gotta write the post office a nasty letter.
If we write the post office, we gotta write about 15 to 20 other businesses.
Oh, okay.
And there are several of them that do it. And there are citizens doing it.
What it's been is if the businesses get it out in the street as you guys are making your passes, then it's been taken care of.
Yeah.
After that, then it's supposed to be their responsibility, what I understood.
I try and shovel it out further, clear in the middle of the street,
It helps.
so that the cars
Yeah,
are
no,
blocked, you know?
there are several businesses that are doing it throughout town.
I don't have that problem.
What's that?
I don't have that problem.
I do.
So it's really how would the council like to proceed?
I don't think we should make a big deal if you're okay with it.
There's some of the places that are a problem, and South Sumner is one of the bigger ones, because it's so narrow and everybody has to drive through it. One of the last times they shoved it part of the way up the hill on the shady side of the street in front of RT Communications. Well, now that becomes a real problem.
Right.
We have,
So who's doing that, the post office?
it's contracted for the post office.
Maybe if we just visit with them.
We've tried,
Oh.
he won't stop.
Oh.
We can't
Well, I
catch
think
him.
we ought to start with the post office. And ask them to have their contractor do something different.
Oh, he said they've tried.
No, we haven't talked to the post office yet.
Oh,
Yeah, the post office, when it hires them.
Yep. To me, it's a business owner's problem, not,
right,
if their contractor's doing something that isn't allowed.
right.
It's the landowner's problem as far as I'm concerned, or the business owner. But that's my opinion. It's strictly
Well,
up
I
to the
agree
council.
with your opinion, and I think that the post office should get, I don't know, should we create a letter that the Americans ask them and say, hi, we'd like you to help us with our snow removal and help ameliorate this issue on South Sumner. Otherwise, there'd be a big, long black car.
So this is a good segue into something that was presented to me by a constituent recently. But the city of Gillette has abandoned their snow removal program. So with the great cost that the city incurs removing snow, I felt like I should do my due diligence and see what that looks like for that community. But I don't necessarily agree with it. I don't think that we should give up our snow removal program just because a larger community has tried it on for size and it's been doing whatever it is for them. But it was just something that was brought to me by one of my constituents that they just quit doing their snow removal program. So, in the sake of saving money. So, that's something I'll research and report on at a future council meeting.
Do we know who the contractor for the post office is?
Kind of. We think we know who it is. And that's one of the things we'd like to do with the snow policy is no fee required, just register as a snowplow contractor in town so we can actually find out who is doing what and give them the snow policy so they understand what's expected of them. If they want to get the snow out there, that's fine. Do it before we pick up the windrow. But after it's picked up, please don't push it out into the street anymore because it's gonna sit there.
Yeah.
We have to get.
No, there's no policy written, is what you're saying.
Yes, there is a policy.
Oh, there is a policy.
Yes, we have a snow policy. We have never added into it, having them tell us that they're a snow removal contractor, so we can get a hold of them, get them hold, or get the policy in their hands so they actually know what we're looking at. We want to work with the businesses. We don't mind doing it if we're doing it anyway.
Right.
It's like a couple of them, there's maybe a truckload of material. You're talking 15 minutes of our time. A gallon or two of diesel maybe. So it's not a big expense. But after we're done picking the snow up when we move on to another area, then it becomes a real problem when they decide to push it back out, push another pile back out into the road.
And you think there's a place they could be putting it and not push it in the street?
They can put it potentially on the very west end there, where it goes into the grass.
Oh, okay.
Or better yet, pick it up and haul it off.
All about it. Yeah, we just have to keep in mind too, when we're looking at this, is need to understand we get money from the state to maintain the stampede and, or, the state highway through Main Street. We get money from the state.
I thought they ended that. Because they reduced it.
We don't get money for what from YDOT.
Because they reduced it.
We don't get money for what from YDOT.
Because we were getting money from them for an annual maintenance.
Yeah, Councilman, they did originally pay us $70,000. During COVID, they knocked it back to $35,000, and since then, they've completely removed it. They don't pay us anymore to take care of them.
That's good to know, I didn't know that.
Mr. Taylor, when he was here to give his presentation, I asked about it, and he said, no, they don't pay anybody anymore that maintenance.
But they still regulate it. But they still regulate it.
Yeah, well, to a point.
So I don't think this is something that we're gonna resolve tonight.
No.
We need a call for a streets committee meeting to see if we can discuss this further and if the committee could come forward with any.
We can provide our policy as well at that point.
Okay. Will you guys work together, have a streets committee meeting? Is there anything else for Public Works Director or Supervisor Stump? No. Moving on to Police Chief Derek Thompson. The chief is on vacation tonight, so I have his report. So calls for service since January 22, 2025. Newcastle PD, 122. Weston County Sheriff's Office, 107. Upton Police Department is 0. Newcastle Volunteer Fire Department, 4. Weston County Fire Protection District, 0. Upton Volunteer Fire Department, 1. Newcastle Ambulance, 14. And the Upton Ambulance is 2. Also in Chief's report, we have been exploring ways to entice qualified candidates to apply with the department. We've spoken to Sagebrush Marketing, the newsletter journal, to get an idea of what marketing options might cost and what services they offer. We have received quotes from each business, but need to explore the options further before going ahead with any decisions. The quotes each business provided didn't really allow us to compare apples to apples. Going forward, I will be exploring the bang for the buck we get out of each option. And then further in the report, I would like to request a police committee meeting for next week to discuss the marketing quotes we have received and other ideas for promoting the department, preferably on Wednesday, February 12th, anytime after 4:30. I have a meeting and a training on Thursday and Friday afternoon, so I will be unavailable those days. If the committee can agree on a time, just let me know when it is. And if that day doesn't work, we'll go back to the drawing board.
12 works for me.
Tom, you're gonna have to work that.
Yeah, I can go on there.
I'm out of town all next week, so whatever works for you guys, you can. I can't.
He's going to the Mardi Gras or something, huh?
Yeah, for which?
Okay, yeah, we can meet with him. 4:30 on Wednesday? Up here?
So you'll let him know.
Downstairs, where do you want to meet? His office.
Right up there.
Okay. Okay, Councilwoman.
Police chief had nothing else to report. Moving on to item 3, attorney Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It was interesting when you started talking about buying a computer and using your computer for public business. There's a recent federal district court case I can't tell you the name of the case, but I will get it and provide it to Dublin, and he can talk to you about it. It says that city council members can be civilly liable if they use their public equipment in an unlawful way. So I'll get that case for you and provide it to Dublin, and hopefully he can get it to all of you, and you can read it to try and avoid the possible liability of any member of the council. So it was filed under section 1984 of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and it deals with all board members, like school board members, city council members, any board members that are given any kind of authority through the entity that has been been appointed to or elected. It has to deal with for the most part, whether or not you as a council member have the legal authority to make any pronouncement on behalf of the whole board. But if you're just out as a board member telling people things that the council has not approved that damages somebody somehow, you can have civil liability. So you need to be aware of that. So I'll get that case for you so you can read it. Okay? I can't remember the name of it, and I didn't know if it was going to come up or not, but it is interesting to read, think about. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Hughes. Does anybody have questions for Attorney Hughes? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 4, Clerk Treasurer Stacy Haggerty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did, since it's a new year here, 2025, I did ask Municipal Court Judge Doug Dumbrell if he would serve another year as Municipal Court Judge. And he said he would be happy to if appointed.
Do we have to appoint him when?
I move that we appoint Doug Dumbrell as municipal court judge for this next year.
I guess now.
We have a motion and second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, all I can say is that I think Doug does a good job, and you know, he used to be a member of this community, his family's from this community, so he does a good job, and he has a lot of attachment to the city of Newcastle and Weston County, so I think it's a good appointment.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes.
Thank you. My next item, I just wanted to let the council know that we did send bills out for those budget billing customers. Everything printed fine, and so that is on those select few bills this month.
How many do we have?
6. And the next item, which I had emailed, I just wanted to let the council be aware of the additional election fees that were unexpected.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody had any other questions for me to ask the county clerk. I provided you guys the information that I had.
She's still working?
Yes, I received an email from her today. And then second and the last item, but my next item is, I've had one contracted company, Cambria Improvement District, ask and inquire about the water rates, but the fluctuating of when we raised the rates and then lowered them, and now, I know Dublin had actually worked on some of the contracts, but I believe that a lot of those entities did not ever get those contracts back. So I would like to see if the water committee could meet at some point in time in the near future to work some of that out, and then probably have when Attorney Hughes is present. And if it's best to try to coordinate that with Dublin, I don't know if that's where we need to start to find a date that will work.
Yeah, we'll check and see when he's back in the office and have some open time.
Yeah, he'll be back tomorrow. I don't know if he's gonna be here in Sundance or in Newcastle, but he's back, he will be back.
Yeah.
I can send him an email tomorrow and try to start coordinating. And then my last item is actually just to remind the council that our next meeting will again be on a Tuesday, the 18th. This is the President's Day holiday. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Clerk Hager. Does anybody have any questions? Hearing none, we'll move forward. To pay in the claims against the city dated January 21st, 2025.
Your Honor, I move that we pay the claims against the city.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Abstain.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Now, move into our executive session. Reference Wyoming State Statute 16-4-405 AVII real estate. Do we have a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. We're entering executive session at 8:04. The public's welcome to stay. We're going to adjourn.